All right, so picking back up with our 5 pillars of Islam. Today we'll go with the second pillar. No, it's just to pray 5 times a day in the direction of Mecca. So no matter where you lived in the world, at these 5 times during the day, you are expected to face Mecca, whichever direction that may be from you, and do your daily prayers. So the 5 times a day that you're supposed to pray, the first is right before the sun comes up, so right before sunrise. The second is midday, so usually right afternoon, about when the sun's at its highest point, just past that. Later afternoon, so probably anywhere between 2 and 5 or 6 p.m. Just after the sun goes down, and then again sometime between sunset and midnight. If you remember last week when we talked about this, we said that, in countries where there's a lot more people who practice Islam, it wouldn't be uncommon for a business or, an other busy place during the day to pause or shut down while people did these prayers. So these are people praying right outside that Dome of the Rock that we also saw last week. But this is that midday prayer that they are doing. But you can kind of see everyone's facing the same direction. Mecca would be the way that they are facing. Carson. So Carson, to kind of answer your question a little bit better though, like most Muslims in their homes have a certain area where they go to pray, or a certain room or spot in a room, and that spot is usually marked by the direction. So they never have to really think about it each day. It's always, everything's facing the same way and they know which way it is. All right, that third pillar, so give to the poor and needy. This isn't really different than any other religion. Most religions have, some belief that you need to help those that are less fortunate. Islam's the same way. So if you can afford to help other people, you're expected to do so. The fourth pillar, fasting during the month of Ramadan. Now the word fast, the way it's used here, that means not eat. So the fourth pillar is based on not eating during the holy month of Ramadan. And if you remember last week when we said that Muslims have a separate religious calendar, that month of Ramadan changes every year. There is an 11-day difference between their religious calendar and a standard calendar. So every year, Ramadan's 11 days sooner. So for example, this year Ramadan goes from April 12th to May 12th. And during that month, Muslims are expected to not eat or drink anything during the daylight hours. Okay, so it's not like they're starving themselves all day, every day for a whole month. It's just during the daylight hours that they're doing this fast. So the way it will usually work, most people will get up early in the morning before the sun comes up and have a large breakfast, have a large meal. They'll then go through the rest of their day without food or drink. Once the sun goes down, they'll have a small snack to kind of break that fast, do their evening prayers, and then have another large meal to end the day, usually with your whole family. Yes, you have a choice to do it, but usually it is only small children, like kids 10 and below, the sick, the elderly, pregnant and nursing women are usually the ones that don't do this. But it is kind of expected that you do this during that month. Now, if you think about it though, other religions have dietary restrictions during certain times of the year. So for example, in the Christian faith, we're in the middle of Lent. Well, during Lent, Christians aren't supposed to eat meat on Fridays. Some people won't. Some people forget and do it anyway. Other people just don't observe that part of it. With Ramadan, most Muslims will attempt it. They'll try it. How far along they get or how strict they are just kind of depends on themselves. There's an example where several years ago Ramadan fell during the month of August. Obviously during the month of August it's hot, middle of summer, but there was an NFL player, Hussein Abdullah was his name, he played for the Minnesota Vikings. He was practicing Muslim. He decided that he was going to do the fast during the month of Ramadan, even though it was in mid-August. Well, if you're an NFL fan, you know that mid-August is when training camp is. You usually have 2 practices a day. You're working out all day, every day. It's a busy time. Well, as a professional athlete, if you can't eat or drink anything during the day, and you're trying to do football practice during the day, it's probably not going to end well for you. So, he got a nutritionist. They did this plan where he would get up early in the morning, have a big breakfast, and pretty much drink all the water he could get down. He'd go to practice during the day, not drink anything during practice, not eat anything between workouts. Once the sun went down, he'd do the same thing. He would drink as much water as he could get down, have a large meal, but he was getting up in the middle of the night, having a couple protein shakes, and drinking as much water as he can get down, and then going back to bed. So people who want to do this will find a way. It's just a matter of how strict you yourself are going to be about it. But the idea of this whole fasting process is to, one, help the followers kind of deal with temptation. Throughout the day, everyone deals with temptation. You're tempted to do things that might not be right or might be against your faith or whatever. You have to kind of resist the urge to do those things. So as you're not eating, you're going to be hungry, you're going to want to eat. You have to resist that temptation to break your fast or eat. So, obviously it's kind of meant to help you do that. The other thing it's meant to kind of help you think about or realize are the people who are less fortunate than you are, who maybe can't afford a meal or eat whenever they want. So you're supposed to kind of be able to recognize and kind of have some sympathy for those people who are less fortunate. Alright, so our fifth and final pillar is the pilgrimage, or the Hajj, as it's called, to Mecca. That pilgrimage, or Hajj to Mecca, is a religious trip that you're supposed to take, if you can afford to do it, at least once in your lifetime. Now, if you remember, that city of Mecca is considered very important because it's where Muhammad was born. But it is so sacred that non-Muslims are not allowed to enter that city. So you do have to be Muslim to make this Hajj. Now, with the Hajj, or the pilgrimage to Mecca, it's not like you're just taking a vacation to the city. There are actual religious ceremonies and things that you are expected to perform while you're there. And the Hajj comes out at a certain time of each year also. I think it's like a 10-day window each year where this Hajj takes place. So everyone performing their Hajj that year goes at the same time. So it is a very, very busy time of year in the city of Mecca. But once you get there, most people dress the same the whole time they're there. You can kind of see this little graphic here. Women are pretty much all white head to toe. Same thing with men. But it's just very, very basic clothing. It's meant so that everyone who's there on their Hajj is equal, regardless of where they come from or how much money they make, that kind of stuff. So what you're seeing here, these are tents that are set up to hold everyone that is performing their Hajj this year. A lot of tents. So there are literally millions of people that go and perform the Hajj on a yearly basis. Everything you're seeing in this picture, everything that's white out through here and on the top of this building and on the inside of this building, those are all people. So like I said, it's a very, very busy time in Mecca.